It's finally here. Welcome to the Nude Tour. Now, this is a huge video and I've got a lot to get through it, so I'm going to try and run this like an ironed, well-oiled ship, basically. So I haven't been able to find too many pictures of the Nude Tour, but this is kind of what Prince looked like at the time. And here you can actually see, I think that's Maiko or Levi there, and you can see the drumming in the background. But this is what the tour passes looked like. Now let's talk about the Nude Tour and all. In summary, the Nude Tour was a tour which was basically, unlike all the earlier tours, there was no big album or no big theme to promote it. The Nude Tour was strictly that. It had nothing to do with Prince playing naked. It was merely a tour to promote Prince's greatest hits. It came at a time after Lovesexy had well and truly died out. What it had proven is that Prince's star in the USA had fallen down a bit. He couldn't really tour with the Batman stuff. He'd only done the Japanese tour in '89 and a couple of one-off appearances, such as the famous I think it was Saturday Night Live appearance in September 1989 where he played that awesome version of Electric Chair. And basically this was a tour. Prince wanted to shore up the finances. Prince said something about how he used to go and see James Brown play in the late 60s, and the last thing he wanted to see as a young fan who only knew a few hits was to see him play new stuff that no one had ever heard of, which is so ironic because every single tour afterwards Prince would basically emphasise a lot of the new stuff in his music, especially by 1995 on the Ultimate Live Experience where he was playing a lot of the Gold Experience and most of the fans hadn't heard except for all the cool ones like us and know had all the bootlegs and all the other shit and all the leaks. But the Nude Tour basically was a big greatest hits review in a lot of ways. It wasn't as well received as the Lovesexy tour, but some people talk about it being really bad and a complete disaster. I refuse to agree with that either because it definitely had its high points. Now, first we're wondering, why the heck am I holding this thing up? Okay, this is actually, I know this is Kiss, but it's also got Girls and Boys and Under the Cherry Moon. What it is that this is not from 1986. This was one of the sort of semi-bootleg promotional singles thrown out around the time of the Nude Tour, because when it started at the beginning of June 1990, there was no new Prince product being promoted. Thieves in the Temple didn't come out until late July of 1990. And the actual album itself did not come out until right near the end of the tour. In fact, in Nice, and on the 22nd of August, the album was rush released a few days early so fans could go out and buy it. It didn't help. The Nice concert was one of the poorest attendance. Now, what you're going to hear about this Nude Tour is that in some parts it was a massive success, such as in the UK and definitely in Spain. And again, Japan still did very well, but in other places, like especially a lot of the shows in Germany, a lot of the shows in Italy, it did not do very well, and especially several Italian shows were cancelled or had such low attendances. And also, Prince's first tour in Ireland, did not go down too well because it was the middle of the World Cup, and everyone was shouting ole ole, and Prince was like, yo, don't sing that shit, and what you didn't realise was that the audience was just getting happy because Ireland had made it past some stage. Don't quote me, I don't know sport very well. And Prince was just getting pissed off and apparently he had a bit of a diva moment. But anyway, so before we go any further, here's just a few photos. Alright, and we're back. Okay, now those are from usedprincestubs.com, which I got off the Prince Vault Images, thanks to the man who does all those, but that's just a colourful range of some of the tour tickets. As you can see, the Dutch ones are really colourful. The German ones are plain as muck. The British ones, I mean, seriously, they're just bits of printed paper, they're awful. The Italian and Spanish ones, of course, always very colourful, and the Japanese ones, well, they're cute, I always put Hello Kitty on them. But just interesting, as you can see, the prices of the entrance ticket to the Nude Tour has actually gone up quite a lot since Lovesexy. I mean, okay, the British shows are still around 20 quid, which is quite cheap, but you can see that in places like Switzerland, they're up to about like 50 francs, and the Dutch, you're paying like 50 guilders, which was like $50 back then. That's a lot of money, I mean, now. But you got to remember, up to about 85, 86, you could go see a rock concert for like $20 or less. So, I mean, this is definitely an increase. By 1992, you had all these big acts touring and things. And I mean, and we'll talk about those in a minute, but so that's quite interesting. You see how they change from country to country. Now, so this was one of the things that put up, fans could go out and buy these types of things if they needed to familiarise themselves with some great hits here. In this case, they also put out new singles for 1999. You could also go out, they also re-released some Purple Rain stuff. You still had all the Batman stuff in the shops, because incredibly about this tour was there were quite a lot of Batman songs played on it. Now, I'll just discuss some members of the band at this time. At the time, Prince's band had changed considerably from Lovesexy. Okay, I'll just introduce everyone on the drums rather than talk about before and after, because I don't know if you've seen my Lovesexy videos from 2 years ago. But basically, we'll start from the top. Prince was again playing whatever, which basically meant most of the time he was singing, he was playing some guitar. Occasionally he'd jump on the piano and, you know, play songs like Nothing Compares to You, which was a big hit at the time for Sinead O'Connor. Sometimes he would also jump behind the drums, but mostly he was pianos, guitar, keys, and dancing, pretty much. And then basically on lead guitar was Miko Weaver. Now Miko Weaver was, even though he was a big Prince confidant and one of his best players, by this stage, basically, there you are, there's Prince playing whatever, pretty much, you know, doing some singing. As our Lancashire friends would say, here's another image of him showing dancing wearing one of his kimonos that had love and soul on them in Japanese. I think that's Miko in the background there. No, it's not, it's actually the Game Boys, but anyway, Miko was lead guitarist, he had been since '86. But by this stage, there was a popular story, he was getting sick of it, and apparently him and Prince had a massive fight, and apparently something like Prince said, "Man, turn that damn guitar down," and Miko said, "I can't turn the fucking guitar down, man. The tech put it up too high." And Prince said, "Do you want to take this shit outside?" And Miko said, "Yeah, you and your bodyguards." And apparently he got so angry and just about left, and Prince begged him to stay to do the Graffiti Bridge tour. So yeah, he played it, but you know, definitely there was a lot of enmity going on there. And then bassist Levi Cesar Jr. again, which had been stolen from Sheila E's band back in '86, had been playing with Prince all through the Sign of the Times. Like Miko, had been here pretty much since the expanded Revolution Sign of the Times era. Okay, on drums we had Sheila E was now gone, and on drums we had, oh my god, I can't even remember who was on the damn drum kit. Oh, this is really bad. We'll get, oh, that's it, Michael Bland. I mean, I can't believe it took me that long to remember that. Michael Bland, Prince had spotted in late 1989 playing a group called Dr. Mumbo's Combo, and Bland was actually the beginning of this new group, which was basically that he was forming the new power generation. He was one of the first members to be added to the lineup, and as you'll hear soon, I mean, a couple of other members were also added to the lineup a wee bit later. And then also we had on keyboards, we had Matt Fink was still on keyboards. He was Prince's longest running member, but by this stage his relationship with Prince had nearly ended again. Prince was giving him shit, saying things like, "Wouldn't you like to lock him up in a bloody box and keep him there?" And Fink had actually, because he was living the good life, he was now well over 30 and got quite fat. He no longer looked like the young, sleek, you know, vital young man of the controversy, Dirty Mind era. You know, he wasn't wearing his scrubs on stage anymore. He just looked very conventional. So this Matt Fink was well and truly gone, basically. Yep. And then also, we had some new backup dancers and singers called the Game Boys. That was Tony Mosley, Damon Dixon, and Kirky J. Kirky J, as you know, went on to become Prince's bodyguard and DJ later on. Damon Dixon went nowhere after the group broke up in '92, but unfortunately Prince brought Tony M out to the fore and got him started rapping, which was bad. And we also had a brand new backing singer, which was Rosie Gaines, who was easily one of Prince's best vocalists. She pretty much replaced Boney Boyer, and pretty much Prince said something to her along the lines of, "Yo, I hope you ain't going to leave me like Boney did," you know, and of course she ended up there because Prince ended up shafting her as well royally. So there you are, that was basically the Nude Tour band. It's pretty much Prince and all these new names, and there you are. So let's talk about the concerts. Alright, and then the first concert, okay, first of all there was a tryout in May 1990 at First Avenue, and this was the famous concert where basically he introduced the new band to the people. It did fairly well, and it was the 6th of May. It was at the 16,000 capacity Civic Centre. The tickets were only $10, and everyone was asked to bring a can of food for the poor, basically, so that went back to like the Purple Rain concerts with Sheila E. It went pretty well. Basically, Prince performed Party Man and Scandalous as the encore, which was pretty interesting, again playing all these sort of Batman era songs. And then what happened was 2nd of June, originally he was going to start it on the 30th of May 1990, but due to some problems with Graffiti Bridge, which had just been mixed, and Warner Brothers wanted to do some edits and reshooting, Prince had to stay behind him mid-player to deal with that, and then on the 2nd of June he was ready to go. And basically a standard set list of this concert included the following songs: The Future, which is open with, again we've got a lot of the sort of Batman era, straight into hits: 1999, Housequake, Sexy Dancer, Kiss, I'm in the Mood, which was something where Boney Boy got on and started singing. Purple Rain, which was probably a truncated version. Take Me With You, Alphabet Street, It Takes Two, which was the old sort of Tina Turner song. I don't know why that was. The Question of You, which was the only sort of graffiti bridge era song played at this stage. Electric Man, which was sort of I think it was like some sort of John Lee Hooker type blues. It was a James Brown thing, which had Boney Boyer not Boney Boyer, Rosie Gaines and the Game Boys dancing, rapping. Controversy, DMSR, Ain't No Way, which was another Aretha Franklin song being done by Rosie, and Prince was saying stuff like, there ain't enough tape to record her voice, you know. Nothing Compares to You, which is when Prince sat down at the piano and played it and sang the living crap out of it. And mainly that was because it was such a big hit, and basically a lot of these people wanting to see greatest hits we already knew that song because, as you know, it was the biggest hit of 1990. It was number one for about 15 weeks all over the world. Electric Man, again. Wrong line. Bat Dance, Party Man. So again, a lot of these Batman era songs. Baby, I'm a Star, Respect. And then finally, Whatever I Play, It's Got to Be Funky. And sometimes he incorporated some trend songs, like he included Tony Mosley came on and did a rap called The Flow, which was basically which ended up on Love Symbol, you know, ask what I'm kicking, and I'm kicking the flow, you know. And then he also did a rap from Digital Underground's 1990 song, The Humpty Dance, added bits of What Have You Done For Me Lately, which was a Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis thing. It was added on to Party Man, so it was a good show, you know, they were mixing it up a bit. Now, another great book here, Hamish Witcher's one, he talks about a couple of, after shows, and basically here, he was playing a lot of these hits again, but at the end he was also definitely playing a lot more sort of, halfway through the show, he started playing Thieves in the Temple, halfway through the tour. And oh my god, I'm up to 11 minutes already, basically. But Party Man generally was always the encore. Another really famous show, too, was just before 6th of May 1990. There was one on the 30th of April 1990. Ironic, that's my 14th birthday. He played basically an earlier version of the Nude Tour as well, and this was for Big Chick Hunsbury, who died. Even though this guy, who was his big bloody man-mountain bodyguard in the early 80s, shafted Prince by doing a cocaine tell-all story for the National Enquirer. Prince did play a sort of thing because he died with no insurance. Basically, let's be honest, the man was poor, broke, white trash. You know, Prince raised $50,000 and gave it to the family, who probably promptly spent it all on paying for a chick's funeral and other things. And then 2nd of June 1990, he basically played the first show in Rotterdam at the Hoydal. Now, the first two shows in the Netherlands were characterised by extremely heavy rain, and they were outdoor shows. As you can see in the rig there, the stage was very basic. What you had was the towels with the love signs on them. That was some guy off of the Prince or who had those photos, so if I infringed your copyright, I apologise. I'm glad to use them though, because not too many photos were taken at these nude show concerts. Okay, these shows did pretty well. 82,000 people went to them. I managed to get this data off Prince Fold again. In all, there were 55 shows in this tour, 56 shows, 51 in Europe, 5 in Japan, no shows at all in America or any other part of the world. Prince would not play the USA again until late 1992, apart from these one-off concerts and one-off appearances through the Diamonds and Pearls era. But basically, this show was really for the Europeans who loved him because they had really supported Lovesexy and Sign of the Times, whereas the Yanks had kind of not really got into it. Part of my usage of the word Yanks, but by this stage, I mean, they were mainly listening to sort of country rock, sugary pop music and shitty rap music, so they were going off Prince. So basically, they did really well. Now, I'm just going to talk about some of the support acts during this tour. Now, for the first part, most of you probably never heard of this act. He had a support act called Jenny Morris. Now, Jenny Morris, you probably never heard of him. Now, she basically played all the shows through the Netherlands and Germany, all the way up to Lille, France on the 17th of June. Now, Jenny Morris was a New Zealand-Australian singer. She was quite a big star here. She was a Kiwi who started off in 1980 with a song called Tears by a group called Kathy and the Crocodiles. Look it up on YouTube. It's a very good song. And then she look it up on YouTube. It's a very good song. And then she had a 1988 hit with Body and Soul. In late 1989, she had a massive hit which broke out over Europe as well as Australia called She's Got to Be Loved. You know she's got to be loved, got to be loved. Incredibly white, not even part married. She's 100% European British. And she's a Kiwi, relocated to Australia. She went down fairly well. For some reason, the Germans and the Dutch really got into Jenny Morris, but starting on the 19th of June when Prince went to the UK, Jenny Morris was instantly dropped from the support list. Prince basically got a second support act, which was basically Mavis Staples, who released her album on Paisley Park Records. Now, Mavis Staples had a band, which also basically included 2 people playing in the band. One of them was Tommy Elmo on keyboards. Another one was Sonny Thompson, who Prince had finally groomed and got ready to go on the road, and he was playing basically the bass in her group, pretty much. And those two later on, of course, after the Mavis Staples band broke up, pretty much when she went back, because even though Mavis was doing her singing, she needed like a backing band to play the music, because Prince did all the backing music on her album and wrote all the songs, whereas Mavis just really did the singing. It went down fairly well in the UK, but generally he decided it wasn't really suitable for the rest of the European tour. Now the big thing about the UK was Prince played no less than 16 concerts at the Wembley. Okay, he basically played the first 7 concerts between the 19th and the 27th of June. Okay, then he went to Birmingham. So I've actually got a list of all the shows here. He came back to Wembley in the middle of July, and then he did the last ones at the end of August in Wembley. He also did shows in Birmingham and Manchester. Basically, I think the Manchester show, I think that might have been one of the ones that, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I suspect either Mr. Rance or the Night Child went to that show. And I think J3121. Please tell me if I'm wrong, buddy. But did you go to one of those Nude Tour shows in Birmingham or Manchester, or even Wembley? It would be great if you did. It'd be great to hear what you thought of it. And also, but anyway, the Mavis Staples band pretty much, were dropped from the act when they got to Spain, and basically actually had 2 support acts playing for one time. One of them was a group called Katama. Okay, apologies if I got that wrong. Mighty Garcia refers to it in her thing, but they played a sort of lot of flamenco fusion pop. They played basically at the Madrid, Valencia, and Barcelona shows, but they did not play at the Marbella show, pretty much. Okay, and then for the final part, also starting again in Birmingham, a group called Lois Lane played. Now, for those of you who don't know who Lois Lane is, it's basically a Dutch sort of freeform jazz group. The main leader is on saxophone is one Candy Dolfer, who Prince played with on and off during the 80s and into the 2000s. I mean, she was on the One Night Alone tour. But Prince met Candy at the end of a Lovesexy show in Rotterdam, when she complained that Prince dropped her from the list for the support. And then Prince brought her up on stage, heard her, and thought, wow, this is great. And then basically she started playing support. So Lois Lane pretty much played all the last shows except for Japan, whereas in Japan he had no support. And basically, yep, so I'll just talk some more about these shows. Yeah, so this might be here where I break off the first video. Okay, and next video we'll talk about some of these shows.